Hello and welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. My name is Cynthia Pacheco, and I'm on a mission to help online businesses step out of digital overwhelm and step into their creative potential. This podcast is all about helping women get more in tune with the analytics and SEO side of their business without the digital burnout. Get more information about the podcast at digimorphs.com. Well, hello there. Welcome to episode number 78 of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. My name is Cynthia. Super happy to have you here. This is the first interview of season 4, and I'm really excited. One of the reasons I, wanted to start this podcast is because I wanted to help online businesses make more decisions off their data and feel good about it. And I know that feeling of just being frozen, in a decision and you don't know which way to go. And the data can do that to you, right? And I think that can happen in many aspects of business, not just data. It can happen, with your finances. It can happen with your services. And I just always think that taking a step forward is always better than petrifying yourself on the spot, just so scared of making any mistake and going forward. So this is kind of what happened to me earlier this year with my finances in my business. So one of my biggest goals this year was to get my finances in order. And I can't really remember how I stumbled upon Profit First, but I can easily say that it changed the way I run my business, and not just from the financial perspective. It's impacted everything that I've done in my business. And I am so excited to be sharing this conversation today with the author of Profit First, Mike Michalowicz. I think he has such a great style of teaching business wisdom, and not just information, because I think there's so much information out there. It's the information that also inspires you to act, right? So I think it's his energy, just like that combination, right? The perfect combo of like the right information with the right order, with the right energy that just gets you to go forward and act, right? Because there is so much information out there. And that's part of the problem of not taking action. We just kind of get bombarded, right? Data paralysis. So just a quick background on Mike. He's the author of 5 books: Profit First, Surge, The Pumpkin Plan, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, and also Clockwork, which has recently launched. So that's pretty exciting. He is a former small business columnist from the Wall Street Journal and a former MSNBC business makeover expert. He's a very popular keynote speaker on many entrepreneurial topics. And so during this interview, we got to talk about a lot of things. We talk about depression in the entrepreneur community. We get into prayer bowls and how he specifically uses data in his own business to run A/B tests for his site. So I really don't think it matters what stage of business you're in. If you're wanting to get some serious framework and strategy for success, check out any or all of his books. Personally, I have finished Profit First and The Pumpkin Plan, and I'm getting ready to start reading Clockwork. But this is a really awesome conversation. So let's get on to the interview. Enjoy. Welcome, Mike, to the podcast.
Cynthia, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. And I just want to say, you make me laugh so much.
Really? Thank you.
Oh my God. Like me listening to your books in my car and like laughing all by myself has been a pastime. And I guess you've inspired me actually in my own podcast. Because I tend to get quite serious when I talk about my stuff, and you've opened my mind to bring some comedy, some humor, to the business. It's awesome. And now I'm trying to brainstorm how to be funny on my own.
Well, I think part of it is that it's true, my true, natural, authentic self. Mm-hmm. Maybe is a self-defense mechanism because I try to be funny, but I also realize it's a goofy funny. It doesn't necessarily connect with
everybody,
some people.
Mm-hmm.
And but it is truly who I am. So when someone meets me face to face, or I actually had someone one day, this was amazing, from college, email me and said, I discovered a book, I read it, and I swore as I was reading this could have been written by the guy I knew back in college. And then they said, oh my God, it is you.
It is.
Yeah. So the key is, it's authenticity. So I think when people try to artificially be someone that they're not, or something they're not, then it comes across really bad.
Yeah.
But when we're authentically ourselves, it resonates with the right community, and it detracts from the wrong community. But I think that's kind of the objective anyway.
Yeah, totally. And I guess for me personally, I just find that, again, there's different ways to approach things. And I learned so much through your book. So I've read Profit First, and I'm just starting to, read, I'm doing air quotes, I'm listening.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to do Pumpkin Plan, and
awesome.
I'm like learning so much, but through the jokes and through the whatever, all your stories, and I feel like that's very natural for me. It just feels so much more comfortable, right? Instead of like serious, business plan and finance and all that.
Well, I think we also as entrepreneurs need that relief from the intensity and the seriousness. I just found recently, and I feel this at least on a qualitative level to be true. I don't know if it's factually true, but what I read was that the most afflicted community with depression is the entrepreneurial community. Huh. And that landed with me. Maybe it's not true, but it landed because the overwhelming stress we put ourselves under, for many of us, the lack of any form of profitability, therefore sustainability, and the compromise we make, sacrificing family or friends, our own self-time, all goes outside the window. So I think at least for me, it's necessary to interject humor and fun just for a millisecond to get a break from the reality of the stress that we are under.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And your stories as well. Like storytelling is a big part of how you teach, and you talk about your journey, and some of the stories are great, and it's crazy. I remember everything, and then I share it with other people, and I feel like there's so much power in that, instead of just dry and cut, this is a methodology, kind of this is what you should be following. It's like a journey instead.
Thank you for spreading the word.
Yeah, no, I really like that. So apart from that, I mean, I'm sure that might come up again in our conversation, but I'd just love to know how you, as an entrepreneur and a business owner and a writer and a speaker, kind of your daily habits and routines that make sure that you're not getting to that place of overwhelm and burnt out.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing that I do believe that structure brings freedom, which almost sounds like a oxymoron or conflicting concepts.
Yeah.
So I do run a relatively structured day to day. It always starts off with exercise and a form of meditation or prayer. I don't even know what the word is because it's not anything that's predetermined. But here's what I do. I wake up pretty early every morning, usually around 5:30, and start off with an hour of exercise, cardiovascular, working out or whatever. And that's it's a great time for thinking.
Yeah. And
it also, I know that health translates to so many positive aspects. So it's just a mandatory part of my life. Then I was in India recently, and I found this thing called a prayer bowl. I'm like, this is a miracle. Why does no one know about this in the U.S.? I gotta bring this thing back. And it's a bowl that you tap on the side and you run effectively a stick around it and it keeps to hum.
Yeah.
Well, when I came back here, yeah, right. So I'm not surprised because when I came back here, I discovered everyone has one.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, no one in the U.S. knows this. Well, that's wrong. Everyone knows it. You can go to the local gift store and they'll have hundreds of them.
Yeah.
So that was a realization for me.
Yeah.
But also, I now use that on a daily basis because for me, what I visualize is I'll put thoughts I want to put out there to our world, to our universe, and I'll tap it and get this humming going. And the vibrations are now a physical vibration. You can actually feel it in your hand. You can hear it. And so I can just see these thoughts I have just kind of encompassing our world and our globe, our universe, our solar system. So that's just been a powerful mechanism to put my thoughts in the right place to start the day. Then when I get to work, we start off with a morning huddle. This is the congealing of our team around our day's tasks and objectives. We start every single meeting first by talking about the impact we're trying to have on the world, which is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. So we start the meeting and we do a little talk about that, and then we go into our individual tasks. And we're a small company. There's 10 of us. We're a micro company. So each person gets an opportunity to speak about it, and then we go off and do our day. And then our day, everyone during that meeting, including myself, declares we call it the big one. What's the big thing we're going to accomplish today? And when at work, emergencies come up, things need to be addressed, but the big one can't be forgotten. It's written up on a board. So pretty consistently, I'm getting my big one done for the day. And I know if I just accomplish one big thing each day, string that together over months and years, that becomes extraordinary impact. So that's how I run my life and my business.
That's amazing. I love that, like visionary, because you're right, like we get stuck in our tiny little daily tasks and usually get swept away into client, well, for me, I'm service-based, so client stuff just kind of like always takes the front, but doing the first thing is this visionary reminder, right, of like where am I going and what's the bigger picture can be really good for keeping that momentum.
Oh, it totally does. And I think why a daily basis works is, I write out a vision or plan for the year. I do it every single year. I actually have we don't have video on, but in my office, I have an old-fashioned typewriter, and I typed up my intentions every year on this old-fashioned typewriter, and it sits in front of me as a constant reminder. But I also realize that planning a year out in advance does not address the daily dynamics that happen.
Yeah.
Maybe that big book deal I wanted to do, my publisher says, sorry, pal, we're done with you. And now is my whole year shot? Well, if I only have one vision or one plan for the year and I don't offer myself an ability to adjust dynamically, my year is shot. So this daily big one allows us on a daily basis to realign around the dynamics around us, yet stay true to a vision. And when certain roadblocks present themselves where the vision as it's stated can't come true, by declaring new big ones every single day, we can move around it or even adjust to a new overall kind of goal.
Yeah, and if it's big enough, like if they're usually like bigger, broader topics, then you could even say, maybe it's a good thing that publisher, didn't take that, because now maybe the next thing that I come up with will even be better and will work towards that vision even better, right? So it allows you to maybe think a little bit more openly about the options of how you can work towards that vision instead of like, I will publish this or I will do this. Could be bigger than that.
It was interesting as I was doing goal setting, and this is true in, I believe, people that consider, manifestation and law of attraction concepts like that, is that we can make a very specific declarative, if that's the right word, declaration, and saying, I intend to say have a new car. I'm not saying that's a good wish or not, but that's it. But someone told me, said, why don't you say that or a better alternative, and let the world around us decide. So I can say, I intend to have a new car or a better alternative to that.
Yes.
And it's interesting, by giving that option, I open myself to considering better alternatives. So and this is true, actually. I was declined by a major publisher for profit first. And
right.
If I took that no as okay, there goes the publishing deal, maybe that book's not meant to be, it allowed me to reinvestigate self-publishing. And Profit First, which now is my most successful book by a long shot, Clockwork is positioning itself to be that way, but Profit First has been up to this point. Since I self-published it, that same publisher literally came back to me a year and a half later, and they said, we made a mistake, we want the book, and offered me a deal that was so sweet, it was undeniably good, it was better than ever before.
Wow.
I think by giving myself that flexibility to allow a better alternative to play out made me persistently, see it through with persistence, as opposed to say, I guess it wasn't meant to be.
Totally. Yeah, instead of looking for the signs, like creating the signs,
Yeah.
Create the sign, write your own sign. I'm in the right place and I'm here, right? That's really inspiring, I think. Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs just look for, I don't know, they look for the answers outside themselves, and sometimes it's just about believing in your vision. I know for me, I do, Google Analytics services, and there's not that many people that do what I do in I'm in Women Entrepreneurs. So
Right.
I find that I've had thoughts where it's like, why is no one doing this? Maybe this is a sign that it's not, a good thing to be doing. So it's like, I have no competition and I see that as a bad sign, but maybe it's a great thing. Maybe I'm like breaking ground on something that women entrepreneurs need, which is becoming more aware of their data and taking strategic decisions off of it. No one's doing it because maybe no one's done it, right? And that's fine. So,
Yeah, I think that your thoughts are very powerful because I think we, as entrepreneurs, have a tendency to make a premature determination of what something means and then stick with it. And we actually have what's called false verifications of it, therefore taking us down a tangential path, the wrong path. Meaning, you go into space and say, well, I have no competition. Some people say, that's amazing. This opportunity is wide open. Yeah. And then they keep on looking for proof that it's wide open. Yeah. But the reality is maybe it's so bad that people have tried and failed. Yeah. So it's disastrous. Now, the flip side is when no one's in the space, we could say, this is horrible. No one can make it in the space. It's the worst space ever. And we don't play it out. Mm-hmm. I think it's very difficult because we're all humans to avoid our bias. So I think what we need to do is rely on analytics to give ourselves times to measure and just be cognizant that our initial belief about the outcome isn't necessarily going to be the outcome.
Right. Yeah, and there's a million different paths. I'm sure you know this way better than I do. There are best practices and there are good ways of doing things, but you can also create your own path, or there's different. It's just that's why we go into business, because that's the exciting. If everybody had one recipe for doing everything, then I don't know. I don't think I would be in business. I'd just get too bored, right.
Totally.
I need to find my way, and sometimes you need to make those mistakes and kind of fall on your own, and then get back up and find your style, I guess, of doing things. So, I mean, the reason I love Profit First is I feel like you do, you talk a lot about kind of human behavior and how our brains are wired a certain way, and that's why it's good to set up this Profit First system around finances to kind of protect ourselves from ourselves with certain things around money. But you also give us very measurable things to do. So, you look at your data. So what type of data outside of finances do you use in your business to track your goals and to make decisions?
Yeah, so I am very reliant on a few things. One is a key metrics report, which we look at every single day, where we assemble a few numbers that we believe are indicative of the health of our business. So for example, we need to know on a daily basis, for one of my businesses behind my books is called Profit First Professionals. It's the so it's the organization that supports concepts from the book. And we every day ask ourselves, how many members do we have? And if that number is going up, that's usually a good health indicator. If that number is flat or going down, there's something wrong. So it's a good trigger to see our membership participation. Right. Then we look at leads. How many people inquired about an organization, and then same thing. It's kind of like our blood pressure. If it's going up, it could be an issue, or if it's going down, it could be an issue. But it's something that needs to be investigated. So those are our key metrics. Awesome. One of the resources, and you already mentioned it, is Google Analytics. It's unbelievable the data you can get. Yeah. Because I believe any business today, even if it's a brick and mortar, even if you are an electrician doing services at homes, that Google Analytics has critical information for you, at least about the prospecting phase. In many businesses today, there's so many online components that it's more than just the prospecting phase. It's the conversion of those prospects into clients.
Yes.
It's other elements. Unbelievable what it has to offer. And I'm getting really super pumped. And it doesn't even end there. We use Google Optimizer, which is a testing platform.
Yes.
But it's free instead of using Crazy Egg, right? Yeah. So we do split testing regularly.
That's amazing.
So we're split testing pricing. I've always been aware that the same item offered at a different price influences people. I didn't really appreciate that sometimes a higher price will sell at a higher volume because I believe the customer sees more value in it. And now we're testing this out and we're proving what the exact right price needs to be for our customer base, all for free.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think a lot of people realize the power that Google Analytics has and the fact that it's free. Yes, it is a confusing tool, and yes, not everything in there is useful. It's kind of like a Frankenstein that's built on itself, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But A/B testing is amazing, and my community isn't quite there yet with the A/B testing, but it's something that's coming up more and more frequently, in that I want to teach it more, but it is a little more advanced because you have to understand the methodology behind it. But I mean, it's crazy that Google has, it's kind of like data for the masses, which is kind of cool, right? Like all this access.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's funny. In my prior life, I was a forensic investigator for computer crime. I started a business around this, and ultimately we grew it. We had 30 employees, and it was just a wonderful experience. And we came up with these mugs, and it was a real simple phrase. We said data talks. What we meant by this is that people lie constantly, not just to others, but to ourselves. We constantly are telling these stories that we make up in our head and conclude that our stories is factual evidence.
Yeah.
But the reality is data has no emotion behind it. It has no bias. Data is simply data. It speaks the absolute truth.
Totally.
So I had all these stories around pricing and website design, all these things. But the facts I can't deny. When I do the split testing, the truth is the undeniable truth. And now I can make educated decisions because I have those numbers. I hope everyone listening to this podcast does data analytic analysis, that does split testing, because now there's no more storytelling. It's just making smart decisions based upon true facts.
Yes, totally. I love that. So yeah, just to kind of start wrapping up, what would be, although I have some other questions just about your future work, what would be like one tip for someone who they've started their business and they're at they've got a good rhythm, let's say, but they want to start to grow and they want to just kind of replicate the success they already had? What would be like apart from reading Profit First, because
you're
it's
right,
awesome.
right. Read every book I have. Right.
Yeah.
It will change your life. Now, so the biggest impact I've seen that facilitates growth is actually narrowing down your customer base niche and narrowing down your offering set, which sounds so counterintuitive that very few businesses do it. But I'll give a quick analogy with a doctor. General practitioner doctors are generally in the business of broadening the scope of their services. You know, they're out there studying the Zika virus now. That's the hot virus for the last couple of years. How do you diagnose the Zika virus and identify as a problem? But they have to identify skin rashes to coughs, everything in between. Right. And they want to broaden their client base, get as many customers in their community as possible coming to their offices. Now compare that to the heart surgeon. The heart surgeon doesn't broaden their services. They become more and more of acute specialists in heart surgery, and the best of the best pick a very specific type of heart surgery. Is it a bypass? Is it repair work, or whatever it is? They also pick a specific community. There are doctors who specialize in maybe geriatric patients. There's absolutely heart specialists that specialize in pediatric patients in doing heart surgery. Well, guess who makes the most money and who has the biggest client base? There are, unfortunately, pediatric heart patients that are waiting for months or even longer to get in the queue to be seen by the world's most elite doctor. That pediatric patient, or whoever that patient is, will circumnavigate the world to be in front of the best doctor because their life is on the line.
Right.
The general practitioner attracts the general audience. And the day that general practitioner says, I'm doubling my rates, or I'm going to move halfway around the globe from you, would you still be a patient of mine? We laugh in their face. But the surgeon, we will pay any kind of rate. That's irrelevant. We'll travel anywhere because our life's on the line. If we as business owners narrow our service set and narrow the community we're serving, the customers who see that decision as a life determinant for their business will seek you out. If you become so narrowly focused and so capable in such a very specific arena that you are the world's elite provider, now you are location agnostic. No one's deciding how convenient it is to buy your services. They are demanding your services. They don't care about the price. Price is secondary to getting a life-saving service. I don't care if you are a number cruncher, if you're an accountant, a bookkeeper. I don't care if you're a number cruncher in doing analytics. I don't care if you're a plumber or anything in between. There's a certain base of specific customers who see that decision of hiring you as critical to the life of their business or their lifestyle. They will pay a premium and seek you out. So become a specialist.
Yeah, and it's so tough because we do want to do it all. And we think
Yes.
we're like, especially when you are starting to grow and you're getting clients and you're like, well, but I want to help that person I helped before. And I'm definitely at a stage now in my business where I'm thinking, well, I'm basically telling a lot of clients, look, this is my new rate. This is what I do. If you want to hire me, great. If you don't, bye. And that's a hard conversation, but
It's a hard conversation.
I feel totally different. It feels very different because you're suddenly putting yourself on this different level and you feel kind of more, I don't know, I've been feeling just more like sleek almost. Like I'm not just going to take anybody. I'm not just taking whatever's being thrown at me. I'm very picky and, like you said, narrowing in a way who I want to work with.
You know, what's funny is that's the resistance we get, and the resistance is from our own mind. Yeah. We say, you know what, I need to increase prices, but if I increase prices, customers won't want to work with me. Which, if you look behind that simple statement, what we're saying is customers are determining our value if we're only cheap. Yeah. Like, who in their right mind wants to work with people that value us based upon just being the cheapest option?
Yeah,
I don't want to work with people that see me as cheap. I want to work with people that see me as valuable. And when you increase your prices, the people who leave to find an alternative cheaper price are the price shoppers. Let them go to your competition because that's what they're valuing them in. The people that stick with you and the ones that say, I'm surprised it took you so long, those are the ones who value you for who you are. Those are the true best customers.
You're so right. Oh my God. You just dropped like a wisdom bomb on me. So tell me a little bit about Clockwork.
Yeah, so Clockwork's my newest book. And what I discovered as I've written 5 books now, I discovered there's this kind of Maslowian hierarchy of needs for entrepreneurs. We need sales. That's the foundation for a business to sustain. But once you have sales, the next level up is profitability. Without profitability, you don't have sustainability. You can't support the lifestyle that you've defined for yourself. So we need profits. Once your business has sales and profitability, the next level is time. Time is the only resource that I can imagine that's not replenishable. Once every second clicks away, it is permanently gone. So it's our utilization of that time that's very important. The concept of Clockwork is how to design your business to run itself. So you, as the owner, have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, both in your personal life and in your business. Because I believe most entrepreneurs don't say, I want my business to run itself so I can just go and hang out and drink margaritas on the beach for the rest of my life. That's appealing for a few weeks, but I think we'll become bored pretty quickly.
And you like those margaritas.
I love margaritas. I love margaritas. I really do. But I do believe we get joy out of our work too. What happens, though, for many of us is the joyous moments in our business degrades over time as we do more and more different work that's necessary. And then we start to resent our business when we do the work we have to do but don't want to do.
Yes.
So the Clockwork is designed to free us up to do the work we want to do within our business if we choose to do it. And hey, if we want to head out and have margaritas for 4 weeks on a beach, more power to you. Clockwork is written so that you can have the business run itself in your absence.
Oh my God, I can't wait to read that. So this was a question I kind of had because I read Profit First. What order do you recommend? I guess it would be the toilet paper. Well, you tell me. What order do you recommend reading your books?
Yeah. So, I used to say read the Toilet Paper Entrepreneur and then move on to Pumpkin Plan. And then I had this epiphany. I don't know which order is necessary. And I actually don't even know if my books are right for you until you answer this question. The question is, right now in your business, what's the biggest challenge you're facing? So here's my question. Like, are you strapped for time? Like you have no time to do anything? Well, maybe Clockwork is the fit. Are you looking for more profitability? You're strapped on cash. Then Profit First is it. If you want to grow, it's Pumpkin Plan or Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. Or maybe you're saying, I just need to make that great hire. Well, guess what? I haven't written that book, but there's amazing books out there about hiring. Find that book. So my answer now is determine what your biggest challenge is in the moment, and then find the book that solves it. That's the next book to read.
Yes, or reread, right? Because I read
Or
The
reread.
Profit first.
Or reread.
Yes, and I've like learned a lot, but I'm like, I need to re-listen because there's a lot that kind of just went through and, or you know, it just need to be reinforced.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm a huge fan of listening. All my books are on Audible.
Yes.
And what I did in my books too is I read it myself, but I also give bonus content, which is interesting. When you write a book, the publisher, they call it killing babies. You may have good elements or pieces of the book, but it's got to fit in with what they call the 220 pages. Very similar to Billy Joel's song of cutting his best song down to 3 minutes and 15 seconds. It's necessary to meet their rules. So some really good stuff gets removed. Well, the power of Audible is I have the freedom to add it back in. So the Audible book is actually longer, has more content than the original. So the original book, the printed book's in there, but some of the stuff that got removed has been added back in.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
isn't that cool?
Yeah, I love all your little, whenever you're like side note, I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, tons of side notes in this one, and some of the stuff that was cut out is back.
Yes. And do you are you writing anything else right now, or are you like have anything else in the
I am. So, I really enjoy the process of writing. I'm working on 2 new books, and I could, but I don't want to reveal what they are yet because I haven't made the determination of what my readership in general needs next.
Okay.
So between 2 books, Clockwork is launching this August 21st. On the 22nd, the next day, I have a meeting with my publisher, and we're talking about the next book.
Ah, exciting.
I hope to be... I've been well into the writing process. It takes me on average 4 years to write a book. Clockwork actually took me 6. So I've been already writing these books. And then I hope to finish the one within 12 months of that meeting and get it back, out to my readership.
Wow. So I think you need to write a book about the law of attraction, like what you were talking about at the beginning. I'm really interested, and I know a lot of people in my world are interested in it. And anyway, just like a little...
I believe in it emphatically.
Yeah.
And I think I understand it. I understand it, at least how it applies to me at a better level, but I'm not there yet. And so I am so thirsty to investigate it and learn more about it. I believe it to be true. I totally believe it to be true. I just want to understand it almost at a mechanical level.
Yeah.
So I can kind of break it down, repackage it, and serve it up to entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
I'm not there yet. I got a long educational journey in front of me, but that's in the queue, I think, for sure.
I just love to hear your perspective on that, specifically for the entrepreneurial mindset and all the experience, because there's so many different areas where we block ourselves and we don't realize it. And it all comes down to the thoughts and the beliefs that we keep repeating to ourselves, right? Anyway, I will include all your books in the show notes and a link to your site, Mike Motorbike. No, I'll do the original one, your last name. But it was great talking to you, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, Cynthia, the joy has been all mine. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Cynthia here. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I make these episodes with a lot of love and effort, so there are a couple ways you can support the show. First, leaving a rating and review is amazing because it helps other people like you find the podcast. So if you have an iPhone, you can hop on over to the podcast app, tap the album art for my podcast, Digitally Overwhelmed, tap the reviews tab, and then there you can write a little review. So if you don't have an iPhone like me, you have to go to the iTunes store through your computer and find the podcast and leave me a review there. Otherwise, just leave me a review through whatever podcasting platform you're listening to the podcast on. This is super awesome. Thank you so much. Also, if you found the information in this episode helpful, feel free to share it with someone you think would benefit it. You can do this either just telling them, or you can also share with them the link digimorphs.com/podcast, and there you can find all the episodes. You can listen to them online as well. And lastly, if you do want more information about the podcast, about me, about Digimorphs, get full show notes, maybe a link that someone mentioned, head on over to digimorphs.com/podcast. You can search for this episode and previous episodes and get all the info you want. Thank you again so much for listening, and see you next week.